guys, welcome back to Met in the Mess. I'm Brianna.
And I'm Megan.
That was so chaotic. It took us 45 minutes to figure out how to start because everyone's technology was not working. Anyway,
Yay, we made it.
we did it.
And we'll be saying that by the time y'all listen to this episode as well, come post Easter. So that's probably how we'll be feeling after surviving the weekend
Yes.
of
Yeah,
another
we're
holiday.
talking about yeah, exactly. We're talking post Easter because by the time this comes out it'll be after Easter, but we're kind of in a time machine where it's the week before Easter in our time and it's crazy.
It's all the buildup, all the fun, still getting over time change here in our house. And I know you said you are too. And it's just like, can it just be gone
Yes.
now? Please, can we be rid of this
I
darn
know.
time change?
I don't know why this one has lingered so long. I think that was we were talking before this, and I in my head I was like, I feel like this is our joint messy moment of like our children have just been acting like wet gremlins, and it's been just crazy. It's been crazy.
Yeah, I feel like that's the cry of all mothers of young children everywhere is get rid of the time change, please. Like if there is a vote on getting rid of the time change nationally, I think the only people who should get to vote are mothers of young children,
Yes.
period.
Yeah. I don't know why this one is like so much harder. Like it. I feel like the
No,
other one's not as hard to adjust to as this one is.
I feel like it has to do with, like, losing that hour of sleep because it just does not sit well with their schedules. Like, the first morning, you're okay, but then moving forward, it's trying to, like, "Okay, do we push their bedtime back? Do we keep it the same?" And then
Yeah.
in the mess of trying to back and forth figure all of that out, it just continues to stay off, and then you feel like you have it, and then somehow they're still acting like wet
And it's like
gremlins.
yeah, like who wants to go to bed when it's like bright and sunny outside. Like, it's
Oh
no
gosh,
one like
no.
and especially, like,
No,
the weather's nicer, like, we're staying outside I mean, not now it's pouring rain, but, like, it's getting
yeah, right.
warmer, like, we're playing outside more, we're like, "Oh, let's just stay up a little bit because it's still sunny and it's nice." And then before you know it, it's, like, 9 o'clock, barely the sun's just going down, you're like, "What time is it?"
Yeah, seriously.
It's exhausting.
Honestly, though, I, like, beg for summertime at this point because just I just want to let them run. I feel like that's part of why
Mhm.
it's so much worse too, especially for those of you listening in the area that we are from being, like, Western PA, Northeastern Ohio region for both of us that our kids have just been stuck inside for months now, and I feel like that adds so much to this time change because they're just ready to be out and run, and there's no good place to do that, no matter how many classes you have them in, no matter how many they're just it's not enough. It's no comparison to just being able to be outside and do the things outside. We had, actually, this might be my messy moment. It was a beautiful messy moment, but, last night, we're under thunderstorm watch and until 9 p.m., but we kept checking our phones and we're like, "Okay, it's not supposed to rain here until 7." And so which was false. Falsely advertised. Ben gets home. I had texted we were texting before he got home off of work, and I was like, "Okay, we're gonna go for a walk when you get home." And he's gets home, the kids are finishing up their dinner, we're and I'm like, "Okay, we gotta get, like, our shoes and socks on real quick." Like, we're the fastest we've ever been trying to get out of the house, and we're looking out the window, and we're like, "Oh my gosh," of, like, the storm clouds coming in, we're like, "We can do this. We can do
No.
this. We can do this." And we it was like the fastest walk ever, but we did it. We survived. We did not get stuck in the rain, thank God.
Good.
Luckily, the big storm did not lie. That didn't come till after 7 o'clock, but yeah, so we got lucky, but it was still we were like, "It's so warm out. It's so nice out, like, nice as the storm's rolling in, and I say, "Oh, it was so nice out." Like, it wasn't, like, go outside and play worthy, but it's like, we have to get that fresh air, so we're at the point
Yes.
where any little bit of nice-ish weather, we just have to get that fresh air in. So, I am very desperately awaiting the warm weather days where we can just be outside all day.
Yeah, I'm with you. We're the same. Like, we just want to be outside. And yesterday is the same with us. It was, well, yesterday I was like, we're just going outside. And it was like the windiest of windy days. Like, I feel like Meadow was like about to get blown away in the wind. And I was like, but they just wanted to be outside. And I was like, okay, like, hold on tight, but we're going outside. Like, yeah, we're the same. Like, just need fresh air or else we're going to like lose our minds from being stuck inside. So, but hopefully this is like the end of the cold and it's kind of like the rainy season, but at least it's not freezing. Can at least crack the windows and get some fresh air in the house, which is nice.
Yeah, seriously, get that, like get the stank out.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
We've all been living inside of here with children and dogs, and we need to open the window, get that out.
Yes, some
Oh,
cross ventilation to get all the pet dander and the everything. Just yeah, freshness.
yeah. Sadly, March is, like, not an ideal time in our states, in our region of the country. I'm very envious
I
of the
know.
people who are, like, posting that they get to be outside. They're like, "Spring is here, and it's so warm," and I'm like, "Why do we live here?
Yeah,
Why do you
I
do
don't
this
know.
again?" And I'm like and then it's nice out, and I'm like, "This is why. This is why we're here."
Yes,
But,
exactly.
just very excited for better weather ahead and yeah, all the good things, and speaking of all of the good things, that's what we get to talk about tonight, all the good parts of Easter, at least to us,
Yeah,
because last week we were focused on the women who followed Jesus in his ministry and supported him and the disciples, and who were the women who showed up um, when Jesus sacrificed himself, his life for all of us, for our sins. And they stood at the foot of the cross and supported him through that and stayed by his side after that. And that's kind of our turning point today, our transition into the women who then showed up after the fact, after Jesus' death, and what that looked like and what we can learn from those women as well.
yeah. I think it's so cool how um I mean, like, as we talked about last week, just continuing on, just like how God uses, I mean, how he uses people, but just from our perspective, like how he uses women, like how special he sees women and like choosing women to be the first ones to, that Jesus reveals himself to. And after his crucifixion, just like little things that you realize. It's almost like reading a book and seeing yourself in characters. Like just examples we made last week of like some, in a lot of ways, we are like those women, like similar. And it's just, it makes you feel like, oh, God sees them. So that means God sees me and values me too. And it's just cool. I like seeing different people use different ways because it really makes you feel a little bit of the value that is the huge amount of value that God sees in us. But I think we don't always see that in ourselves. So it's kind of nice. It's like a nice little reminder, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like that kinda kicks off, or is a great lead into where the story begins, which we touched on last week of the women preparing the oils to gosh, I'm, like, trying to think of all the right technical terms, but tend to Jesus's, burial site, his body at his burial site. I don't know, what are the do you have better lingo than me on that one?
Yeah, like they obviously during the time, like when people died, they didn't embalm people like we do now. So they would anoint them with like ointments and spices and things just because your body does start to, you know, do things like well after you die. So they take
They
great
needed to
care of
open
like
the windows and
anointing.
get the winter stink out.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like anointing the body and just like wrapping them in linen and like just caring for the body in a different way than we would do now. You don't take them to the funeral home and to be embalmed like now they you'd have someone probably close to you who would do something like that, who would care for your body even after you're dead. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're picking up our story.
Yeah. Which, I mean, the other part of that is not just these women continuing to care for Jesus after his death, but they were in their deepest moment of grief. You know, I think that's the big call out is what they had just gone through, what we touched on last week and talked move into. Now they're coming out of that and trying to look forward and are probably feel like they're up against just a brick wall and don't know what the next step is for any of us who have lost someone that we love. I mean, we've all been there and had those terrible dark moments where it's just the grief just feels too heavy. It feels like too much. And that's exactly where we meet these women today at the beginning of the story is that they are in that darkness or kind of drowning in that grief. And we've all been there in a sense of like I said, losing somebody. But I feel like it also applies to our daily moments or just those bad days where it just feels like way too much. Something isn't going right at work, something isn't going right in your family. No matter what it is, we all have those bad days where it just feels like we're alone in it, where it feels really heavy, it feels really dark, it feels exhausting. And yeah, we've all been there, and I feel like that's the applicable part of that is, yes, this obviously is touching on, their loss of a loved one, but I think this storyline also very much hits home not just to those suffering from losing a loved one, but to those just bad day moments where it feels a whole lot messier than every other day.
Definitely. I mean, I think this is it connects perfectly with what we talked about last week of just like running on empty and still deciding to show up anyway, which is kind of like the theme of this. But I mean, last week and this week, I feel like it's kind of like a two-part episode of just some days are really hard and still choosing to get up and do the things because you care about others or like the things that are you're being obedient in or faithful in or the things even if someone doesn't see you do it and it's not always easy. It's sometimes you have to really like drag yourself out of bed to to get some stuff done, and I think that this is, like, the ultimate picture of that, like, after we get through Jesus's death, obviously traumatic, horrible thing to witness, and obviously horrible for Jesus, but moving into this part of the story, Jesus has died at this point, and now we're just seeing kinda the aftermath of, like, because I just think of, like, when someone you care about dies, there's this little section of time where you kinda just sit and you're like, "What?" Like, you're like, "What do I do?" And you look around and you see, like, there are people who are unaffected by it because they weren't involved in this, and you're like, like, you have this moment where you sit and you're like, "I don't know what to do right now."
Yeah.
And then, like, once you get through that moment, you look around and you realize the world does not stop turning when someone you care about dies. Like, you still have to get up and do things because the world does not stop just because you're feeling sad and down. And that I think is it's like a turning point in grief. And it's just hard where it's like, okay, like it's, I mean, probably one of the hardest parts where you have to transition out of that. I'm in this deep grief moment. I don't know what to do into the realization of like, I can't stop either. Like, the
Mhm.
world does not stop around me, so I also can't stop. So you have to, like, really it takes a lot of, like, a lot of strength and a lot of sometimes talking yourself into it of just like, "Okay, I have to get up and do this stuff because the world doesn't stop just because 'cause I'm feeling sad." And I think that that is exactly probably what these women were doing in this part of the story where they're like, "Okay, I'm sad and this is terrible and horrific and I miss my friend. I miss this person that I just spent so much time with, but also this other like the stuff needs done." Like I feel like that's such like a I don't want to like put anyone in boxes, but like I feel like that's like that's why women get stuff done. because
Yep.
even in the times where, like, things are happening, you're like, "All right, but this stuff still needs done." And that's, like, where that strength comes from of, like, "Okay, let's like, I can still feel sad and also still get this stuff done because it's not gonna go like, no one else is gonna do it," kind of. And I think that's where, like, these women in this part where they're like, "Okay, like, I'm sad and then this is terrible and I just don't wanna do anything, but my friend's body is laying in that tomb and I need to go take care of him because I told his mom I would. I promise to like, when I say I care about someone, like, I'm gonna follow through with it, and that's what I'm gonna do next, and I have to go do it." And I think that that's probably where these women were pulling that strength from to, like, get through this, like, over that little like, the hill of, like, "Okay, it needs done, let's go." And that's kinda where we meet them in this part of the story too, which is, yeah, interesting and probably hard, but, you know.
Incredibly hard. Um, so biblically, diving in, if you're have your Bible with you, go ahead and open to Luke 24, and read through. I'm not going to read through all of it, um, but definitely read through Luke 24, 1 through 25. He is not here, he has been raised. Remember what he said to you while he was in Galilee. The Son of Man must be handed over to sinners, be crucified, and 3 days later rise to life. Then the women remembered his words, returned from the tomb, and told all these things to the 11 disciples and all the rest. The women were Mary Magdalene, Joanna, and Mary, the mother of James. They and the other women with them told these things to the apostles. So these were the women who went to tend to Jesus's body. So then we jump to John, the book of John, 20 verses 1 through 18 to read. I'll go ahead and read 11 through 16. Now Mary, speaking of Mary Magdalene here, there's a lot of Marys. Now Mary stood outside the tomb crying. As she wept, she bent over to look into the tomb and saw two angels in white. They asked her, "Woman, why are you crying?" "They have taken my Lord away," she said. At this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she did not realize that it was Jesus. He asked her, "Woman, why are you crying? Who is it you are looking for?" Thinking he was the gardener, she said, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have put him, and I will get him." Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned toward him and cried out, "Rabbi," which means teacher. And there's different translations there. And then our verse of the day is at the end of that, it's John 20:18, which reads, Mary Magdalene went to the disciples with the news, "I have seen the Lord," and she told them that he had said these things to her. So the reason we chose this to be our verse, so this is the full picture in scripture of where the women went to tend to his body, seeing the stone rolled away. The angels were there. Mary turns around. Jesus is there. The women were the first one to witness Jesus come back to life. Just gotta say, pretty cool. Women are always used
Very
for
cool.
the
I
coolest
agree.
things in the Bible,
Very cool.
hands down. So Mary Magdalene is the first one to witness Jesus in his resurrection. And what's beautiful about the verse we chose, John 20:18, is the fact that that grief, that heavy grief that we were talking about, that darkness, you see it immediately removed. And this verse shows the transition of out of the grief and into joy. And I think there is something so beautiful about that that applies to all of us in the sense of when we also find Jesus, when we also see him, immediately our hearts change and we are moved from that place of grief to joy. And the biggest sense in our salvation, but also, like we spoke on those bad days, or when you're going through grief yourself, or you're going through trials in your own life, the moment that I think we're able to kind of flip the switch and refocus ourselves on Christ is the moment where we're able to start to let that heaviness go. And just like you spoke about, whenever we do lose somebody, and that's probably one of the hardest things to do is to start to pull yourself, like to keep moving forward. And I feel like so much of that is because just in what you were describing is we feel so unseen in that moment It's like, well, everybody else is moving forward, but don't they see me here? Like, don't they see what I'm going through and how hard this is for me? And we feel so unseen on those bad days, on those in those terrible moments. And it's so, why am I going to cry? It's so beautiful when on those bad days, in those moments, when we feel small or unseen, we are reminded of the God who always sees us, of Jesus' sacrifice for us. When he was on that cross, he saw our bad days. He saw us in those moments and he got up there to take them away. And it's the only thing we need, but it is the best thing. And it's just like Mary in that moment when she sees him face to face. I think the feelings are very similar for us coming out of those bad days whenever we allow ourselves to recognize how much he loves us and that he is constantly showing up for us. He doesn't leave us. He does see us in all of it, in all of the pain, in all of the grief, in all of the struggle. He's there. He's taken it on for us.
I think that I agree with you. I think that's a beautiful way to look at it. And I think, like you said, I think it's such a good visual for ourselves as to like put ourselves in that position of Mary, where like you're in this darkness. You feel like you're walking through this darkness and you feel unseen and you feel, whatever you're walking through. And now I'm going to start crying. It's just this beautiful picture of like that darkness doesn't get the last word. Like when you feel like you're in such a deep darkness and there's no way out, and just again, like whatever you're walking through, it's like Jesus is always going to tap your shoulder and be like, "Hey, I'm here. I'm right here." Like that darkness does not get the last word. Like I'm always going to rise above that. And I think like this is just a good reminder of like that's not just the day he rose talking to Mary. Like that's every single day with us that Jesus is behind you tapping you on the shoulder saying, "Do not let this darkness get the last word because it's I got it. Like I you're more than that because I'm more than that." And it's like that what's that worship song? Can't think of the name of it right now. But it starts with I know who I am because I know who you are. And
Mm,
it's like that idea of like I know that I can get through this because I know who's walking next to me or who's has their hand on my shoulder. And I think this is I mean, yeah, just like you said, just a really beautiful picture of that exact idea.
yeah. Well, and it's the same way where, like, just to continue off of what you're saying, like, Jesus is meeting her in that place. Like, he's coming to her and meeting her in that place of her, like, deepest sorrow. And he's not scolding her for crying. He just gently asks, "Why are you crying?" And and she mistakes him for the gardener, but because, we're all human here.
At least she was
Like,
nice to
all
the
it
gardener. She wasn't like, "Go
Yeah,
away,
right?
I'm crying."
She's like, "I'm having a bad day."
Yeah.
But, like, all it is like, it just takes him simply saying her name, and she's just like, boom, like, there it is. It's just that, like, little bit of recognition that, like, he's just like Mary, and she's just like, yeah, like, she's just immediately turned around, and I feel like that so much applies to all of us when life feels dark and you're crying at the tomb of whatever, feels dead in your season, exhaustion or feeling overlooked, or whatever hard moment you're going through. Jesus still comes close and he knows your name and sees your tears, and he has resurrection power for you.
Yeah. It's just that reminds me of in Isaiah 41 or 43:1, and it's exactly that. It's do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have summoned you by name. You are mine. And I have that Isaiah 43:1, you are mine. Like I have that on sticky notes everywhere because it's like he knows your name. And when you're sitting in that darkness and he taps you on the shoulder, you're not a stranger. He's not like It's not like you see a stranger crying in public and you're like, "You good?" He knows your name, he knows your heart, he knows everything. He
Yes.
literally died for you, and it's like it sounds so silly to think about now, but it's like Jesus just went through this really, really horrific thing, right? And he's like, "I'm gonna go check on her." And I
Yeah.
just think that's another just beautiful picture of, like, how much Jesus cares for you, never too busy for you. But it's just like, it makes you feel like, yeah, like, he cares about me, and he knows my name, just like he knew Mary's name and he cared about her. And he wasn't like, "Hey, I'm right here. I'm risen." His first thing was like, "Are you okay?" Basically, like, and it just shows, like, the care that comes from God, like, the the deep, deep care. And I just think that that is so cool and so beautiful and such a good reminder of something that
Yeah.
I think we don't always remember when we're walking through darkness like that.
And that's something that I know I feel and continue to struggle with in my walk with Christ is that I feel like there's so many other people in the world that it's more important that they found Jesus, like that they have a bigger story or they are doing more important things or they need him more. Fill in like whatever it may be, insert answer here of what thought
Mhm.
I'm having that day. And I allow myself to be little. And I think that this like the fact that the first person he goes to is he doesn't go to his 12, well, not the 12 anymore, excuse me. He doesn't go to his 11.
Ooh,
Yikes. Judas. Sorry, Judas. Not
that
sorry.
was your
Uh,
choice, brother. Anyway.
you're on choice. Moving on. So he doesn't go to the 11, like, he doesn't go to, like, Peter, like, he doesn't go to a big name disciple first. He goes to Mary, like, he goes to the unseen person first, the person who is, like, overwhelmed in her grief, and, like, chooses to appear to. Like, there is nothing that Jesus does that is not thought through and intentional. Like, there is a reason he went to her first, and it is because he wants us to know that he cares about us. When we feel unseen, when we feel small, when we feel like we're not enough, that is the exact moment that Jesus shows up. And he's like, "You're not too small. You're not unseen. You're mine."
Yeah. It's like cast your troubles on him because he cares for you. It's not just like I think we read a lot of, and I say we by, just generally speaking, but I should say me. But like sometimes you read things in the Bible and you're like, you kind of minimize it, where it's like,
Mhm.
it's almost like when a stranger asks you, like, "Oh, how's your day?" And you're like, "Fine." And you think, like, they don't actually care how my day is. Like, they're just being nice. Jesus isn't just being nice. That's not his game. That's like not his thing. He's not just being nice. Like, he genuinely cares for you,
Yeah.
person listening to this right now.
Okay.
So if you feel small or unseen or feel like you're a drop in the ocean, you're not. You're so much more than that, and you have value, and you are seen, and you are cared for, and you are loved, and Jesus is right behind you walking with you through your darkness, and it's like, when he asks, "Why are you crying?" It's not just to be nice,
Yeah.
and I don't think we think about that often enough. At least I don't think about that often enough. I need to remind myself of that probably more than I do. But
Yeah. It's like God is such a big God.
yeah,
We often are like, "There's no way he just cares about me." Like, it's
yeah,
so easy to make ourselves feel small, especially when we're going through I mean, moms, like, in the season we're in where it feels like our toddlers are out to get us, and
yes,
like, we're actively trying to find the joy in each day because it's just a bad season. And I that statement applies to, I feel like, so many things, no matter like, if you're going through losing a loved one, if you're going through, a difficult situation at work, or a difficult family situation, or, a fight with a friend, whatever it may be, when we're going through those moments, it's really easy to make ourselves when we already feel unseen, it's really easy to let that narrative take over in our heads and then make ourselves feel smaller because of it and be like, well, if nobody else sees me, there's no way my big God sees me. And I feel like that is such a big takeaway from this is like Jesus sees the person who is unseen and small in that moment in her deepest grief. And that's who he runs to and calls by name, the same way he calls us by name. Like, he is showing up for every single one of us in those, like, in those dark times, in the bad, in the good, and I think that's the beauty of that too, is that just so quickly how our grief can turn to joy because of Jesus, because of our Savior. Like, Mary went from weeping to running with the best news ever of, "I have seen the Lord." And I think that's just so beautiful to remind ourselves that, like, our hard seasons don't get the final word. Jesus does.
Yeah. And I think that's where you hear a lot of testimonies. I mean, you hear a lot of, like, crazy story, like, crazy in the good sense of, like, wild situations that God has pulled people out of, and that is incredible. I mean, yeah, incredible. But I think a lot of testimonies that you hear, we've talked about it before, are just like, "God met me in this really dark place. I chose to turn to him instead of turning into the darkness." Like, I
Mhm.
think that is the true testimony of, like, God gave me the strength to not fall into the darkness. I think. I mean, that's my experience at least, is like, I there's times where you truly do not see a way out and you're like, this is just how it's gonna be. And then the next day you wake up again and you're like, okay, I
Yeah.
guess I'm here for another day. So let's, do what you can with that. And like that is like, you don't see it in the moment, but you're like that, like looking back, you're like, that was God giving me the strength to, like, he woke me up for another day. Like, that's the testimony of, like, you're here for a reason. I mean,
Mm.
and I think that that can feel like, again, the hardest part of, like, Mary Magdalene in this part was like, before she even saw Jesus and before she was crying in the tomb, she also still had to get up and go do the things. She chose to get up, and that was a task, like, get up, gather the things, go to the tent, go to the tomb, fully preparing to tend to his body, and it's like making the choice to get up and keep going. That's not always that's not always the end of the hard part, where it's like, "Okay, I'm gonna get up and do this." And then you still oftentimes have a journey. Like, it's not always just a quick, like, "Okay, I'm fixed." Jesus is right here as soon as I stand up, and he is, but that's not, like, always how it feels for us. And, like, it shows how, like, it does ebb and flow where, like, she probably was in a sad time wherever she was staying, and then she got up and got moving and got her stuff and I don't know what that walk was like that morning, but then, she gets there and something else comes up. You know what I mean? Like, she sees that he's not there, and, like, it's not always just it is kind of a roller coaster coming out of that, but, like you said at the end, like, that's not the end of your story. Like, the darkness doesn't get the last word, even if it feels up and down. Because I think that it does feel up and down. Everything ebbs and flows. And at the end, it ended with joy because it ends with Jesus. The darkness doesn't get to be the end. And I think that is, again, just another hard thing to remember of, like, you might feel good right now and then later you don't feel so good. And then you feel good again and you don't feel good. Choosing to still move
Yeah.
and choosing to still move toward Jesus and away from the darkness, even if it feels like the darkness is chasing you. Keep your eyes fixed on Jesus, and everything else is going to melt away because obviously he's going to be victorious in the end. And we're going to be victorious in the end because our prize is getting to be in heaven. So, like, how cool. I don't know. I feel like I
Well,
rambled, but yeah.
no, I just to, like, go off of what you're saying too, is we just have I have the darn Frozen 2 song jumping in my head, "Sign of a Toddler Mom." But, like, it we just have to step up and do the next right thing, you know?
Mhm.
And I think we actually touched on this a little bit last week too, but it's like when just like Mary got up and did the next right thing, Jesus met her there. And it's like when we're going through hard seasons, we so badly want for answers or resolve or whatever, like to feel better, whatever that looks like, whatever that end goal is or result, whatever it may be that we're looking for. And I think it's super easy to fall into that trap of, I'm a good person, so I just deserve this. Or I believe in God, so he's just gonna fix it for me. And that's not the case. Like, just like Mary, we have to do the next right thing. Like, we have to at least go 10%. Like, we need to show up uh, in some way, and Jesus will fill the rest. Like, he will be there, but we have to do that part. Like, we have to do the next step. We can't just give up and fall off the path and be like, God's just gonna pull me up and he's gonna fix it all and he's gonna do some like crazy miracle and all will be well. But I think the other part of that too is like we've emphasized a lot of heavy examples throughout this episode. And I think a lot of the time too, the same way like Jesus turned Mary's, they took my Lord into I have seen the Lord. I think it's as simple as that too. Like the bad days can just be bad days. And if he can do that, which we know he can do more, I think it's easy for us to allow him to turn our they spilled my coffee again into joy as well. You know, like we've touched on a lot of deep topics, grief, loss of loved ones, different problems in life. But I think even just in our bad days, in our bad moments where it just feels like bad thing after bad thing after bad thing, you know, like it's a rainy day and the dog comes in muddy from the backyard and the kids knock over your coffee and then the internet goes out or like whatever it is. And it's just like they're all small and little things, but they start to add up. And Jesus can meet us in those moments too. And I think it's very easy for us to allow him to. But again, like we have to keep moving forward. We have to keep showing up and at least giving our best in that moment. And our best is probably not going to be perfect. It's not going to be 100%, especially on those bad days, but just showing up and continuing, like you said, to like show up in a way that is Christ-like and chasing after him, he's going to do the rest. Like he will do the heavy lifting for us.
Yeah. And I even think about, not gonna even search for this, but I know it's in the Bible somewhere. I will link it. It's coming out of like some sermon I heard from somewhere. But like God doesn't always ask us even to move. He just tells us to stand. Like you're knocked down, just stand. Like just get back up. And I think that that is something too where it's like absolutely like just choose to do the next right thing. Absolutely. But it like, at the very minimum, like, God will give you the strength to at least stand
Yes.
when it feels impossible, when it feels like the hardest fall you've ever taken, and I can't possibly get back up from this. God will give you the strength to at least stand, and then we can go from there. And, yeah, I, like, look for that strength to at least stand, and I think that the next right thing will present itself from there.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the times that is going to look like Jesus calling your name. It's going to be him filling in the rest of it for you. And I think it's really easy when we're in those dark times and those dark moments when we're standing in the tomb and we feel so lost. It's very easy to mistake Jesus for the gardener because we are so overwhelmed by our own trials, our own feelings. It's very easy in our overwhelm when we feel like no one else sees us to almost hyper focus on ourselves. Be like, well, no one else sees me, so I'm going to see me. But it's really focused to, or really easy to find ourselves focusing inward and not seeing what's going on around us. And again, to mistake Jesus for the gardener. And we just need to allow ourselves to open up that little bit to be able to hear him call us out by name and immediately turn our grief into joy.
Totally. Don't focus so much on your own grief that you forget to look for Jesus, I think,
Yeah.
because he's always right there. I feel like this was supposed to be the happy post-Easter episode.
It is happy. It's like that.
This was supposed
It's
this is
happy and
yeah,
makes
it
you wanna
is.
cry.
Yeah.
You know, here's something happy. While we are talking about this, it just keeps replaying in my head, and it's probably because I can't go one Easter without it replaying in my head or without somebody sending it in our cousin chat. But now it just hit me in a totally different light, whether it be talking about like talking through this episode or being a toddler mom or whatever it may be. But there is so my
I'm
mom.
thinking of what you're gonna say, and I'm
You
giggling
know
ahead
what
of
it
time.
is
Go ahead.
already. This is, like, the best Easter video clip. Like, America's Funniest Home Videos has seen nothing. Like, for whatever reason, this is just the funniest video clip ever. And my mom, out of the 4 sisters, was the videotaper of the group. So our entire family childhood, all of us cousins, is on videotape in my parents' basement. And there is I think my brother, he had to be 2 going through that, "I'm not gonna listen to you or respond to my name, or you tell me to stop, I keep running," like, that phase. But, we were always together for Easter, and we always did a big Easter egg hunt. We did 2. We did one at our grandparents' house at our Nana and Papa's, and then we did a second one with, like, our extended cousins, and we were in this video clip is my little brother, and it's funny because it literally cuts like, the videotape cuts from the end of the Easter egg hunt of on my brother being a little butt and trying to, like, put eggs in his like, hide eggs in his sweater, but it ends up being, like, the same egg over and over again just dropping through, and it cuts from that scene, hysterical scene, to the new Easter egg hunt at our great aunt and uncle's house where they had, like, this ditch of mud, basically, and here's my brother, little 2-year-old Adam, in his full Easter getup. He's got his khakis and his navy
So
blue
everyone's
button
everyone's still in their
cardigan.
church clothes. Yeah.
My gosh, all in our church clothes, and literally all the
Mhm.
girls had their we literally had hats on back in the
Mhm.
'90s, but so Adam it cuts to my mom videotaping Adam and him just running at full speed with his basket while we're doing the Easter egg hunt, and she's just, "Adam, this way! No!" And then you just see
Adam,
little
no!
Adam go splat as she's saying no, and he just splats into the mud, and it's funniest video ever. My gosh. And then, of course, it cuts out and cuts back in, and it's a full front picture of him covered in mud in his Easter getup, and it just is playing in my mind because I just think of we have laughed and laughed and laughed at that for years. Like, we have every Easter that comes up, and in my head just now, as we're going through this conversation, I'm thinking, wow, that must have been one of the most frustrating mom moments for my mom. And just being teenagers and kids and past, like sharing that clip every year and stuff, like never think of it from that perspective, have never thought of it that way before. But I'm thinking of it now, I'm like, "Wow, my mom must have felt frustrated, upset, embarrassed, overwhelmed," like, all of those things in that moment that, like, now I can put myself in her shoes, and she has just been able to so gracefully let that go every year and find the humor in it and, like, not let that be something that is, like, instead of it being a reminder of a moment that felt probably terrible in the moment for her, where she probably felt very frustrated or unseen in her feelings, and instead she has turned it in like, just goes along with it in the joy, and I feel like that is
Yeah.
so applicable to this conversation that we've had of in your unseen moments when it feels like too much of what God is going to do with it, like, yes, that's a very silly example, but God is gonna bring joy out of your grief, and I have 0 doubt in that. I have full faith that if you will do the next step and hand it over to God, He will meet you there. He will pick it up, and He will do the heavy lifting for you. You just have to be able to hand it over to Him and continue to walk in faith and not fall in the mud.
Yeah, I was gonna say, now I'm, like, feeling bad for your mom because I had never thought of it from that perspective. Yeah.
I need to call her after this.
Yeah. I'm so sorry I laughed all those years and had him in the mud.
Now we feel
My
that.
goodness.
Sorry, mom. When
Yeah.
you listen to this, we love you.
Yeah. Sorry, Lisa. I love that. I think that's a good comparison because I never would have put that together, so
Anywho,
yeah.
on that, will you close us in prayer, B?
Yes, absolutely. Dear Lord, we thank you for bringing us together again today. We thank you for this Easter season, for this time during Lent, this time we've had to reflect and pray and give and serve and fast and all the things we've learned about ourselves and our relationship with you over this Lent. We're so thankful for everything you've revealed to us in different ways. And we pray that we have the strength and the courage and the wisdom to apply it to our lives and just continue to grow in relationship with you. We're so grateful for Jesus dying for us on the cross. And please help us to remember that always that's not lost on us, that he died for me, for you, for everyone specifically, that we're not just a drop in the ocean, that you truly care for each and every one of us. And you're not just wondering how we're doing to be nice, that you truly, truly care about our hearts and our well being and how we exist in this world and how we share you in this world. And just our relationship with you is so personal and so special. And I just hope that we don't forget that. And I pray that anyone walking through darkness who's feeling unseen or lost or sitting in grief or not thinking there's a way out or not knowing what the next right thing is to do. I pray that they just look to you and know that the strength from you is enough to at least help them stand, and then you'll show them what to do from there, and that you can lift the heaviest of weights off of our shoulders and you can bring light to the darkest of darkness. And we just pray that you help anyone feeling unseen and help them know that you know their name. And I pray that we don't forget that we don't forget that you're special in your eyes, even if we don't see it ourselves. In your name we pray. Amen.
That's beautiful. And just like Mary, where God didn't just make her feel better and was like, okay, bye now. He told her to go and share. And that's exactly what she did. And I feel like that's what we should all feel called and inspired to do this week and moving forward, coming out of Easter season, is to go and to share and, uh, yeah, just continue to do the next right thing every single day. Take those next steps, whatever they look like.
Yeah, we get to share the good news.
Exactly, and now if you're going through a heavy season, reach out to us, we would love to pray over you, pray with you, connect you with any resources that we can, uh, or just be a friend to talk to and to help you find the joy in whatever situation you're going through. Please subscribe and like and follow along. And book club is coming out soon where we talk about our book for March. So definitely check back in for that. Click the link in our bio to sign up for notifications as well so you don't miss out. But yeah, we hope you all had a very happy Easter and we can't wait to talk to you next week.
Talk to you soon. Bye guys.